So I'm going to start off with like a patient as an analogy here, that you have the next patient that comes in here. You just had a new one, but the next patient who comes in here, middle-aged man, woman, whatever, seeking to deal with something they want better. Something's wrong. They want something better. Generally, something's wrong. You come in here, do your detective work to help figure out what it is. And so here's some acute thing. You start off with the acute list. Okay, I think this is number one. This is what's going on. And here's what would help it. X, boom, 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 boom. And it's generally a change diet, change sleep, change exercise, change stress, change something, but it's taking the norm that we're all stuck in and that we've made kind of comfortable around ourselves. And we need a change. You're then relying on their personal accountability to do it, to walk it out, to come back next, or, chime in next week, next month, 90 days, whatever. They've walked it out. And of course, as you and I sat in the deck yesterday, talking about a guy that we both know, and it's been how long? And he's not really done anything and he's still suffering.
Right.
It's been months
with that level of suffering. Mm-hmm. And ultimately you do what you're going to do. And change is always change, mm-hmm. and change is always hard, and change always hurts.
And this is the dawn of, this is the holy grail of all time of personal development and changing ourselves that we're dealing with. And it is difficult. And how many of us, when we go back to, the scriptures, I don't do what I want to do and I do what I don't want to do. And that's humanity. So here we are. Yeah. What do we do? Right. And, I want to get into talking about the aspects of personal, but for this purpose here to help ourselves, social accountability is so powerful. We all know that. To pick businesses. We look back at Weight Watchers. I think it's one of the all-time greatest success stories with losing weight. My memory as a kid was my mom joined, and her and a bunch of women, and they got together and they did it together. That was the point. Curves, my understanding is Curves as a fitness, type thing, that the best thing it has going for it is accountability. They've done a good job of getting people together.
What? You know what bone I have to pick with Weight Watchers though?
Probably lots, but I'm just talking about one piece.
You're right. The social accountability piece is what makes Weight Watchers, Lean Cuisine, Jenny Craig, the church groups. That is why those things are successful. Why are they ultimately not successful is what we're going to talk about today as well, too. Because if you go into Weight Watchers, one of their business models is repeat business. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought you were going to get in. And also some of those things, it's not really nutritional food that they're courting. But back there, my memory is that my mom would literally go to Weight Watchers. They literally had meetings. Yeah. So the other things were happening, but these were meetings that they go to. My gosh, Alcoholics Anonymous, possibly one of the most successful social accountability structures, of all time. Now we have Peloton, which just it's a stationary bike. Now it's cool that it's set up to a screen, but the primary benefit of the screen is you have connection, a coach, and you have a leaderboard of other people doing it. I just got a Hydro, and I'm doing ads for them, but I love the thing when it came up on my board as a possibility. I said, holy smokes, I've been wanting something like this. Please, let's do it. So I've got it. My family's doing it. We all have our personal profile. We go in there. And I can join, like today, I actually missed one. I can do a live one. So it's literally live. So some dude or some girl is in lake, whatever, or whatever river, and they're starting out and they've got pontoon boats filming. And I'm literally so this dude's on the water and I'm watching the water. Now I'm sitting in my rec room, but then on the leaderboard over here are, whatever, 100, 300. If you do Peloton, you're going to get into thousands at this point, people who are doing it live with you around the country, around the world. And it's cool, man. Now I compete. Admittedly, I'm going for the lead. I can't get close to that yet, but that's great accountability. And then with Hydro, and this is what really brought this whole show to mind, they've got a Facebook group. So I joined the Facebook group, and all of a sudden my Facebook wall is just Hydro stuff. Well, that's good social media usage, because they're talking about, hey, I just did this. I got my next level of whatever. I joined a Strava group that I'm on, and now they're doing it as well and talking amongst themselves. And you come along there and give each other kudos. It's just behavioral psychology 101, social accountability. It's so strong. And how can we all get it? For a patient, we just talked about that for you, for a patient, for you. I think it'd be great for you guys to have, for True Life Medicine, have a Facebook group. or whatever.
Right.
Some connection point.
To connect with people, to bring them along, to create the social awareness, the social accountability.
Dr. James just told me to light a match to my pantry. What am I supposed to feed my kids? I know, man, I had to do that too. What'd you do? This is what I did. That's great. Or let's do this together. I mean,
it makes me feel bad that we haven't done that more aggressively.
Well, I think as a business, we would help our clientele to do that as well. I mean, obviously it's fine. You can't, I'm not going to be a part of 500 groups, man, for a journey like that. It's change,
Involved.
Big change.
Yeah. It helps. Well, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is that's a lot of noise on your Facebook wall that you have to filter through. If you're filtering through Strava and then through these guys and then through those guys, I get worried about being overwhelmed.
That's true. Now the reality is, I don't have anything on my. No, I do have. I have Strava on my phone. So now when I, go to the bathroom, that's all I got. If I don't have a text, that's all. I have nothing else at all.
So while you're sitting down doing nothing, you see all these other guys and how much.
I'm thinking, man, I got to get off the pot and go exercise. So I literally, that's it. And on Facebook, I don't really want to be there. I mainly use it for business. I don't want to be on it anyways. But if I am going to go check it, I'll tell you what, I go check it a couple of times a day now. And I have the Hydra group and I have the Colorado Springs mountain bike group, which I use, and people, and I went today and saw a guy and he had done the Air Force Base loop. And I said, hey, is that open to civilians now, during COVID? He says, no, it's just military. Apparently he's military. So of course, my next question is, can I go with you? But that's a good use of social media.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so I was thinking, Randy, I mean, when I look back even at my own cycling career, I mean, BMX, why did I start BMX? Because they built a BMX track in my town and my 2 next door neighbor guys got BMX bikes. I thought, I want to do that. So I did. And every day we'd go out, and I just found some old photos we were going through, and it's the consummate 1970s, a ramp over a ditch or over kids, and we were doing it. I got pictures of me doing it. And so that's just what we did. That's social accountability. Later on, I started road racing. And I lived with my teammates, literally. We moved in together. And so you wake up in the morning, there was no question of, I'm not into it. I'm depressed. I just don't feel up to it or whatever, because they're putting their stuff on and they expect me to join. And I do. And we go out and we ride 5 hours and kill ourselves. And the accountability is just so powerful. And yet today's day and age, the majority of people hearing this have none in their life. No accountability. Social accountability, no support. And I'm talking about in the support aspect. They have no support.
I'm thinking in the bigger picture too, many of the people that are listening, they have the accountability of their family.
Some
or unaccountability.
Yeah.
Right. They're getting dragged down.
I mean, you're saying that, but how many of your patients say, here I am trying to make these changes. I don't have my spouse on board,
family's hurting
or
me.
my kids. Yeah.
Right.
Women especially are the ones that get me, because their husbands, he's a
right. Although the guy that was on the deck yesterday is
opposite.
I know. And so it is going both ways. So the reality is that the water we swim in, the accountability that we do have, tends to be negative, tends to pull us down.
Well, we did a show on that. Shoot, I'll pull it up here while you're talking, but we did a show on that about one of the biggest enemies that we all have is the negative accountability, or the flow. The flow.
Of our culture, that we swim in the waters of our culture, and that includes our family. And you're saying, look at the power of the positive social accountability in these other groups, and what that can do for people. And from a social perspective, you know what? There is a positive one is smoking.
Okay.
Right. Like now, it took
There's
80
negative
years.
pressure against
There's now negative pressure.
Well, and you mentioned it before. Right now, we have negative pressure against not wearing a mask.
Right. I went into the store the other day and I forgot my dumb mask, and I was all the way. Remember how we always say we go back to hit the front door and you go back to your car?
I know. I'm getting more exercise today, because whatever place I'm going, I go to the front door, go crap, go back to my car.
Well, I didn't know I didn't have my mask on until I was in the back of the store, the City Market.
Faux pas. You've now offended everybody.
I got so self-conscious, and all I needed was like an onion and something. So I was just like, I'm just going to buy it. I looked at the floor. That I felt the social accountability right there.
Yeah.
And talked to a person yesterday who said that, you know, they just moved away to Florida. We were keeping our relationship to going. And she said, well, this mask or this church doesn't wear masks.
Yeah.
You got frowned on. You show up with a mask. But her family wouldn't let her go to church without a mask because they were worried about themselves. She's literally stuck in both.
Well, you and I just went to a wedding a month ago,
Right.
and it was a no mask wedding.
And there was one guy with a mask on, and he eventually took it off.
Granted, it was outdoors, but it still was
outdoors at 9,000 feet.
Hey, the show, by the way, it was episode 24, True Life Show, Overcoming Cultural Resistance. So yeah, I didn't thought about that. That is the negative.
That's the negative side. So today we're talking about the positive side.
Harnessing. How can we harness and leverage it? I mean, Jim Rohn is, ultimately famous for a lot of things, but the quote of you become the average of the 5 people you hang around most. You and I on this show have talked, I don't know how many times, you mentioned it a minute ago, Blue Zones, Dan Buettner.
Yeah.
And him just talking about the culture. When you have that culture, you don't even have to try. Those people in those cultures, they're not thinking about dieting or eating healthy or exercising. It's
like you and your bike guys.
Yeah.
Because the family says, something happens at 6 o'clock, we go on a walk. Here we go. Yeah. We're all walking out the door together. And you do that. And we don't just walk. I'm thinking of the other book, the Natural Born Heroes on the island of Crete. We harvest our salad for tonight.
Yeah.
And they eat weeds, what we would call weeds, but they eat it, and it's the garnish, and they just do that. And there's not really an option down the other path. Honestly, in America, what I'm thinking is people see that as negative because in our culture, we have the rugged individualism. We have, I want to be my self-made man, my own person. I don't want to do what everybody else wants to do. I'm thinking of families like we all have teenagers and they want to do what they want to do. They don't want to certainly go on a family walk or a family jog or something like that.
But it is but then the funny thing is, it's like we used to joke about the gangs, the gang individualistic, and they go and they're
dressed like goth.
They're exactly the same thing. And even now you got the whatever guy you're talking about who's the rugged, whatever, he's got some Facebook group or Strava group of people that he's together with.
Have the same tattoo.
It really is. And if you get the one guy who's the loner out there, chances are he's pretty good with his own personal accountability a lot of times. But on this, so I mean, what can you do? And I'm thinking about the little things like, man, if you want to start losing weight, we'll use that as an easy one, and you think that running sounds good to you, or swimming or cycling or Zumba or whatever, one of the most powerful things to do is to go become part of a group doing that. Join the local cycling group, find a local running team. You'll make a friend. That's what they do. Now you have that accountability together. I mean, that is probably more tangibly successful than any of these self-help books back here on my shelf that are trying to get you to do it by yourself.
I would agree. I
mean, how many things that we do? I mean, you as a husband, how many things do you do just because of I don't know if this is positive or negative. It's just the spousal accountability. You're on, well, I better take the trash out, and you just do it. And thank goodness, because if she wasn't there, there may be trash piled up to the ceiling. So it's good. But we do have that accountability. Yeah. In a family. Yeah. Good and bad.
Well, and even though, I mean, we kind of chuckled at the negative side of marriage accountability, but I also know I want that.
Yeah.
I know that for me on a business trip and that, eat whatever, stay up a little bit later, whatever, you don't feel good about yourself. It's like we joked about before, the Friday night relief of a movie and a bowl of ice cream does not equal restoration. Mm-hmm. But if I knew, and we've done that before, a Friday night hangout with you and Patrick and Dustin and whatever else, and it might be the same bowl of ice cream, but the relationship is there, the camaraderie is there, the restoration is there. Mm-hmm. That kind of a hangout is so much different than the other kind because of the social connection. And I would argue, Kevin, too, that deeply buried within there is biochemistry.
Okay.
Meaning what you just said, the friendship, the connection, the social human connection. I think this is missed in American medicine by far and it's actually what we want to also do in the office, is to create more of a relational coaching, mentoring kind of relationship with people for this very reason, which again is why we should, even though I might not be the Facebook kind of a guy, people are. And that relationship creates the biochemistry that leads to the mindset that leads to being more well than you would have been.
Well, and they do look at you guys, here in the practice as a family, you and John and Caleb, and they connect with you, but that's while they're in here for the most part. I mean, you do have your, the mobile connection point.
The spruce. We've got connection with people,
but it's still not the same. So, again, as people hear this, to think about how can they so wherever they, I mean, obviously if you get a health and wellness avenue that you're doing well in, great. You have your own personal accountability. You're doing like, me with exercise. I don't need any accountability to do that. Now I'm still using some of these things because it excites me a little more. It's kind of fun to post stuff. So I'm doing that, but I'm going to go out and exercise every day. I got that one covered. I could use a meditating, positive accountability, which we're actually, you don't even know, we're going to have somebody on here on the show and talk about that some, but that's where I could use it because I'm struggling with that accountability. So that'd be great. Where's a meditation group? I mean, I'm sure they exist.
Right.
That would be it. So as everybody's listening, where is your Achilles heel? Where's your downfall? Where's the place you lose momentum? Where's the place that's the biggest struggle? How can you go? That's the question. How can you go proactively go out there and find the social accountability you need to do it?
Think about it. Think about it through your lens. That's the last thing you want to do.
Well, that's because I don't like people much.
I know, but if you're going to go meditate with them, you sit there and don't say anything.
So. Monks. I need to go to
find a monk.
Find some monks.
Can I go sit there and not talk to you?
Yeah.
But my point there is, that's the line to cross. So we're at that decision-making point of, you do have to reach out. And actually the Strava groups and things like that make it easier because it's not even, hopefully it leads to a personal, actual, real connection, but it doesn't have to, but it's still a connection point. Fuels that responsibility.
And even the accountability of the data. So that's what Strava does. That's what Hydro does. That's what Peloton does. So like
Weight Watchers does.
Oh, well, check this. You'll appreciate it. So Hydro. So I'm doing my rows, right? Yesterday I did one. I did like 5,000 meters or something like that, on the screen, and it logs that, and then it says, "Hey, afterwards, literally automatically comes. Congratulations, you're XYZ further to or closer to your first goal." And I scroll down, and it's 100,000 meter ticker. So it's got me on there. It's calculating all. And when it gets to the top, I get a Hydro water bottle sent to me.
Oh,
it probably cost them $3 from China or something like that. But I'm looking forward to it. And now I've seen people posting it. I got my water bottle. Hydro. And then when that stops, or when you achieve that, you get a something else, whatever. And it's a Strava kudos, but it's keeping track of that. And so then I feel accountability to that. This is, journaling, tracking, whatever, just like in business as well. That is such a benefit because we will respond to that. I mean, this is all, how do we manage our own dysfunctions, our own weaknesses? And these are pieces of it. Strong pieces. People ultimately make decisions based on emotions. Mm-hmm. We'd like to think that we make them based on smart thinking and data points and all of that. But ultimately, people make decisions. This is referring back to the book. I want you to. I have it up on my screen, but I was going to buy it, and I thought, no, I'm going to ask the guy to get on a show with me. And
I'll drop the name of the book as Curable by Travis Christofferson, and lost my train of thought. Oh, Warren Buffett, the best investor ever. And so the classic line is, he says, when people are selling, buy. When people are buying, sell. Meaning when people are doing these complicated data analyzing algorithms of whatever, ultimately they think they're doing that, but they're not. And he is then saying, you think the other way. People do things. My point there is they're doing it based on emotion, not on data. Right. The data says I weigh 200 pounds and I should weigh 180 pounds. That's the data. But I'm going to go exercise based on, is my friend going to do it? Do I like the guy? Do I want to compete? Do I, all of these other things. And the bottom line, and this I would say for people listening out there, is the learning point is we're not as smart as we think we are. There's a wisdom to finding like you said on your quote of who you're hanging around with, finding the group of people that are going to pull you towards the direction you want to go.
That's been some of the help for me, is to realize that even though here I am studying behavioral psychology, behavioral economics, trying to harness it in business, that I'm a culprit of it. I mean, I'm just as malleable with it.
You still can't tell me why you don't meditate.
I know. And how Starbucks has me addicted to going there and getting my little rewards. I literally look forward to the rewards. Why? Because then my wife will say, well, do you have one of the free things? Because if so, she'll get the most expensive thing that she feels guilty to get otherwise. So I'm like, okay, sure, man, I'll buy your coffee too to give me more rewards. They are getting my money because they have used behavioral economics that I'm sitting there watching. I know exactly what they're doing, and it works. And that's the point, and it works. So again, for folks out there, where are you struggling? Where can you harness that social? And today, obviously there's groups that you can go literal face-to-face. You got to figure out what works for you, but now it's available to anybody online. And I don't even know the vast list of accountability group. And then they're not going to call themselves that. They're going to call themselves like advocacy groups. There's a Peloton group. They don't call themselves an accountability group. The Hydro group, Weight Watchers. They don't call it. AA may say accountability, but we're using that because that's the root of the issue. But we're talking about support and encouragement.
Camaraderie. It's the tribe.
The tribe.
The linchpin guy. Didn't he write
Seth Godin?
Seth Godin on something about tribe.
That was Tim Ferriss.
No.
Yeah.
But that idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what just dawned on me is one of the call outs that I am encouraging people to think about if they are thinking about a functional medicine, a true life medicine, is to recognize the social disadvantage, the social problem that I would argue is the American healthcare system. Okay, so because if people want to lose weight or have, right, there's no hypertension advocacy groups out there, because we're taught that, well, I got older and my dad had it and now I have it and my insurance company says this is what you do and that's the standard of care. It's a disincentive, right, to be aware of those kind of markers.
Right.
And what we create over here, ultimately, there is no such thing as, high cholesterol advocacy group, because the way to get out of high cholesterol ultimately is to be a part of Peloton.
I was going to say the Hydro, Peloton, Weight Watchers.
That's my point.
The bike club. Yeah.
To highlight, and maybe people will say, because a lot of people are stuck, and we're saying, well, go call a friend and go run around the block. And they're like, I don't want to do that. But if they can get unstuck by recognizing that part of our stuckness is the very system we say is awesome as the American healthcare system.
We're being alone and then being in that. What I just thought about too is, imagine if somebody said, okay, I need to get out. I need to get my cholesterol down. Okay, you need to run. And they go out and run every day. Man, it's just killing my feet. You go, dude, you have no shoes. Get some shoes. That will help you a lot. It will cause a lot less pain. Put some shoes on, right? And that's what we're saying. If you are trying to do these things and struggling, and you're not tapped into some aspect of social, again, kind of like support and advocacy, encouragement, if you're not plugged in that, you're missing a key thing. It's like going out and running without your shoes, I think, for most people.
Totally. Well, let's go one step further. That if anybody is serious about learning anything, you get a teacher, a coach, a trainer, an accountant, anything, right? In this world where you and I, where we're bridging business and family and health and all of that, I am now convinced that the American healthcare system is wrong. I was going to say immoral. It's wrong. It's short-sighted. The problem is they don't recognize what we're just saying, that the instructor in the American healthcare system was traditionally the town wisdom or the doctor or the whoever else that had wisdom and instruction on how to not be sick. Now it's diagnosis, medicine, surgery, right? So you've stripped the doctor from any kind of coaching, mentoring, relationship, encouragement.
For those watching the video, no, this is my analogy I thought the other day, because I was irritated about something that you're talking about. I was going, imagine that, American Health, imagine I'm taking this scissors and sawing it across you, and boom, it creates a wound. You put a Band-Aid on it, it's seeping, you put stuff on. The next day we come in, as we're sitting here, I do it again. And you're like, man, I got to get a better Band-Aid. And you do that. And finally you come in and check this out, man, I got this one. It's metallic. I don't think you can even get through it. And that's American medicine. And nobody says, why don't you knock me out so I quit cutting you? Yeah, quit. I mean, it is. It's the upriver. I saw the upriver, which was first done by, or the upstream.
Uh-huh.
That quote was originally somebody
about the kids falling in
yeah.
upstream.
Well, why don't we?
Instead of spending $1 trillion on a helicopter to do a dramatic rescue that gets on YouTube from a kid in the river downstream,
the 10th
and
one,
we keep doing it again, and we keep doing it again. Let's go upstream and say, why are these kids falling in?
Somebody real famous coined that. I didn't know. I can't remember
who the famous person was either.
It's like Mandela or Desmond Tutu.
My analogy is the check engine light on your car.
Yeah.
You wake up, your check engine light is on. You take it to the car doctor, the mechanic, and he says, yeah, I reset it. You're like, oh, thank you. You drive away, the check engine light is not on. You wake up the next morning, you drive, the check engine light is on.
Just turn that. Oh, I've had them on cars, like on my old ones, and you just put a piece of electrical tape over. I'm tired of seeing that stupid thing.
That piece of electrical tape is called your hypertension medicine. You have to reset the system every morning. You're not getting to the root causes. And to close this loop with what we're talking about today, one of the root causes of your malady is the lack of relationship, coaching, mentoring, tribalism, camaraderie, accountability, social connectedness. And now we're in the age of 2020 COVID, and all of those things just took a hit. Right. So granted, Peloton, Hydro, all that kind of things is doing really well. But do you know what we've talked about the diseases of despair, of disconnectedness. Did I ask you this sort of theoretical question of the metabolic equivalent of perceived loneliness? So not loneliness, because everybody's got 500 Facebook friends and it might be socially connected. If they perceive isolation, loneliness is the metabolic equivalent of 15 cigarettes per day.
That's horrific.
It's horrific. So, and again, people need to hear that part of, oh, I can't get off the couch and do the work to lose the weight. There is a metabolic response of the cycle that we're in, and the longer we stay in it, the harder it is to get off the couch, to make friends, to socially connect, even if it is online or whatever. That the opposite of that, remember what I said just a few minutes ago, Kevin? I think there's a metabolic response to friendship.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There is a metabolic response to loneliness, and it's not good.
I wanted cheesecake. It's very beneficial for my overall health.
Deficiency is a metabolic response.
I don't need a support group for that. That's gigantic.
So I'm thinking of Steve Martin in the movie The Jerk. All I need is the cheesecake. All I need is this.
It is. I mean, again, that's why I wanted to have this show. It's such a big deal that we're missing out. Yeah, when you talk about that we have all these connection points, but we have less intimate connections, than ever. And to that point, sure. If you could find this kind of social support, it's probably, I need to start saying that, not accountability, but social support, from those closest to you, that is the best thing you could possibly have. If you don't have that, and you may have that, as you said earlier, against you even, to go out and find it. I'm saying it is our responsibility, all of us, in an area that we need help, at least. But even in not, like I said, I'm having fun with that, with an area that I don't need help with exercise, but it's helping it. It's making it more enjoyable, more interesting. I'm, connecting with people, and it is fun to find those people that just like that. You mentioned Patrick, a guy that we've gotten to know the past couple of years. And, I went and he had 5 guys, and we went mountain biking together. I drove there with him for an hour. We talked business and family, and to have those connection points to even that. Okay. That's a great point. If you're lonely, go find somebody pursuing a similar pursuit and interest like this is worth its weight in gold. And we can all do that. And I just want to set it out there as not a nice thing, or that'd be great if I could, of saying, look, if you want to be well, as well as you can.
It's a requirement.
Go find, yeah, exactly. I mean, you do. Your life, half your life is, or it seems like, it's soccer. You're a soccer family.
You
All the
out
soccer
there finally.
Yeah, now I'm out there. But everybody. That's who you go get a smoothie with afterwards. That's who you go to church with. So you're just automatic. You have your blue zone of these health-minded people.
Right.
It's killer.
And this last weekend, so it was our first weekend, and the weather was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And
you and I, we did the smoothie thing afterwards, but over with one of the other families, I was saying, this just feels like medicine. Mm-hmm. To be out on a day like this, watching the kids run around, to be involved and talking with other families. That is our tribe and our group. And yeah, I want to be known as one of those guys. And
yeah, I just thought of somebody else that we won't name that we were at a conference and the person said, I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom right here. And I feel like this is one of those that I want everybody to hear. Again, if there's an area you wish you were doing better in regarding your health, keys to the kingdom is find some social support. And if you can't find it, contact me. I'll help you. Contact me.
Yeah.
It's because I think I'm talking about meditating. I guarantee it's out there. I'll find out because I've got a connection there. Now there's some social group and they track your meditation. Probably some of the apps that I've talked about, probably track it. Yeah. Okay, there you go. That's part of it. But to find a partner, I saw this on the hydro thing recently on the Facebook group where some guys were going together going, hey, and they were, because most of them have like a fake name up there. It's row your boat. That's their username.
Right. I'm Gandalf.
Yeah. Mine is Kevin Miller because I'm that creative. But they'll do that. And so you don't know who they are. And so they got together on Facebook going, hey, some of you guys, row your boat and, Johnny on a log and whatever. I see you guys always at the top of the leaderboard with me. Let's get together and do our own group and we'll do some things together. I thought that's just killer. That's going to help them.
It's going to be a part of the new mechanism of social contact in America. There's there is the good side and the downside, of course, but it's here and it can help. It does help a lot of people.
Well, so there we go. Social accountability, social support, social encouragement. It is hugely powerful. It's relevant for every one of us. And if you don't have it, it's a big missing link in your pursuit of being as well as you possibly can be. I want to hit another point of accountability. It's the kind that nobody really wants to hear about. But when we're looking at our health, how often do we did a show, it was the Q&A show, and we were talking about epigenetics, and genetic, and when I was thinking about personal accountability, and I typed in blame into I typed in the word blame. Okay. So anybody can do this. Go to Google, put blame and hit search. I came up with 139 million, tags for that. But then it was over 2 pages of news headlines in the past 24 hours that have blame in them. And it was, of course, politics, it was COVID, wow. It was race, it was whatever. But we are in a blame culture, which is taking the accountability off of ourselves. So now I'm looking at personal accountability and looking at that. And you and I, obviously if you come from a faith-based perspective, you're going to have some different perspectives, but we talk stewardship is such a churchy religiosity word, but you take that away in business. Mm-hmm. There should be good stewardship. We expect good stewardship of finances, mm-hmm. of resources. Warren Buffett is probably one of the best financial stewards, Dave Ramsey, to look at stewardship. So what is the accountability that we have to, if not our God, to our spouse, to our family, to our fellow man, to be stewards of our body? And this, gets into, nobody wants to be, don't hold me to blame. Well, have you ever had a patient who's ever walked in who had any type of malady that was not at least some part from their personal fault? Even if it was ignorance. I'll take blame for my own ignorance. Man, I did not know that. My fault for not knowing that. Now I do. But I'm the one, I did cause that. It was my actions or lack of action.
So if we flip it around and say, are there any maladies that are purely genetic? Purely that toxin got into me from that bad company? And the answer is yes, but it's the rare. That's what they make movies about. Yeah. And that's why that one movie that the lady lawyer did, and you know, about toxic water and the kids were dying and whatever else. The love canal, right? Everybody wants to say, well, my malady is because of global warming and pollution
My
and
parents,
my parents, that's right.
chemicals, whatever.
My dad had this problem too. We blame it on genetics. And so now we touched base on in that Q&A, nature versus nurture, genetics, epigenetics. And I would say it like this, that there's Huntington's disease it doesn't matter what you do, you will probably not make it past 35, right? It's genetically locked in, but that's rare.
Of course, we both know somebody who has, the doctor that works with my wife. She has
several
cystic fibrosis, CF. Is that who it is?
Oh, who lives out of state?
Yeah.
Cystic fibrosis.
Who should not have lived to X, but now she's so far past that.
She's one of the longer lived ones.
And
that's right.
She's devoted how much of trying to surpass it. I mean, we did a show on COVID back when it first came out. And right now, I mean, am I to blame if I get it, whatever, but right now it's my responsibility to do everything I can so that my body can ward it off or fight it off. Not a guarantee.
Well, right. And we are living in a culture that says, if I get it, it's because that other person didn't wear their mask.
Yeah.
And
well, that was
such a debatable kind of, it's the both.
That was the unpolitically correct meme floating around of a very unhealthy person, overweight, in a wheelchair with their McDonald's cup, yelling at some kid for not having their mask on and saying, you're harming my health. Obviously, there's worse things happening to health than COVID right now. I know that's not all fairness, but we're getting to the point of, where are we with our personal accountability, our personal stewardship?
I would say here again, Kevin, and I hope this hits ears out there, and because this is not on the extremes, right? There's no black and white. There's very few black and white, like Huntington's or whatever else. Most of us bear some responsibility for whatever malady that we have.
Yeah.
And I'm arguing that part of the reason why we are struggling with this, and it's becoming a debate, and people are saying that it's other people's fault, is that we have a culture and a system. I'm going to pick on the healthcare system again, that does not only does it not demand personal accountability, it doesn't even mention personal accountability, right? So you can eat whatever the heck you want. You pay the same insurance price as the next guy. That engenders a thought. And we have people comparing, other cultures that have a national healthcare system. So it's hidden. Nobody is accountable to a choice, which to me, for us in our culture, engenders worse choices. Right? It's social pressure down worse choices. And now we're coming in and saying, well, how can you be more accountable to your own self and your own family and to your own God and all of those kind of things, regardless of what everybody else is doing with their insurance money and whatever.
Well, to what you said a minute ago, though, I thought, the truth is regarding our health and wellness, I'll talk about me. I am a victim. I'm a victim of a corporate juggernaut who is looking to make the most money, the most profit that they can, even if they're not amoral. It's just the job of business. So if they can put some fillers that are cheaper in that food as opposed to the real thing and whatever, and the FDA approves it and it goes out and I don't know any better and I'm eating that, or there's chemicals and pollution going into the sky from all the corporate stuff. So my health is limited by things I can't control. I am a victim. So let's just say we are all victims.
To a degree.
So what? So we can point the finger and go, well, XYZ is to blame. What does that help? I love Tom Bilyeu's, and that's spelled Bilyeau, I think. Tom Bilyeu, he was one of the founders of Quest, which is now $1 billion company. They're the Quest bars that you see in grocery stores and whatnot. He has a video. If you type in Tom Bilyeu, how is his name spelled? Bileu, and type in "It's all your fault." He was being interviewed and there was this clip and he makes this preposterous story of if a meteor comes out of the sky, comes to the roof of his house and crushes his wife, he's just going to say, that was my fault. Now he goes on to, of course that's preposterous and he can't, but what he's saying is, how much better off he is to have control, to claim some, power in this, as opposed to just being a victim. And he's going to the extreme because we live on the extreme, just like I talked about with my Facebook or my Google search, that we are in a blame culture where everything, and whenever we blame something else, we take away the power that we have to do anything about it. So I'm going to go his direction and try to claim I can do something about everything. Now, the only downside of that people are going to bristle at is that when we say it's my fault, I'm to blame, we take that on, and now it's guilt and self-flagellation. That's not the point either. This reminds me of Tom Ziegler recently, who's been talking about having the highest standards and the deepest grace. So can I do that? Can I say, hey, I'm going to take responsibility and have grace for myself? I've not been good through that, good at that through my lifetime, but I'm going to do that. So with grace, I am going to take responsibility. I am not going to blame something or somebody. If I get hit on my bike, I was thinking about Lance Armstrong, the guy got cancer. Was he to blame for that? No. What did he get kudos for? Beating it. And they said, why? Look at him, man. He's so in shape. I mean, the guy was, doing all he could to recover from this. And he did. That's what I want to be. That's what I'll be preparing for. So if I get plowed by a car on my bike, it's not my fault, but it's my responsibility to do all I can now so that I can knit together better than I would be if I was a couch potato. Well, if I was on the couch, I guess I wouldn't get hit by a car. So there's one vote for being on the couch.
Well, and even you also, as you're driving a car, you wear a seatbelt, not because you are planning on getting in a car wreck, but that is like preparing for a meteor. Like you can do those things. If you give up, then that's right. Then give up and blame somebody else. Our culture makes that very welcome these days. And we're coming into a time where a significant part of the culture is now thinking that way more and more. And I would say they're taught that way. The healthcare system teaches that it's not your fault. It's just age. It's just genetics. It's just whatever. So, take your medicine, put that Band-Aid over the check engine light every day, and just keep driving on. And if something bad happens, well, then, and so how do you step out of that? Now, I was one of the ones getting ready to bristle because in our clinic, we see so many people who have taken on too much responsibility. Yeah. They have, not to the martyr complex, but even you, right? In your attempt to be super dad, attempt to be super businessman, attempt to be super whatever else, there was some pathology.
You're right. And I tried to take, my big downfall was to take responsibility for others' behaviors and feelings.
The empathy, the over
coming off of that and realizing, man, it's my responsibility to do the best I can to love that person well. But ultimately they are responsible. For how they decide to feel, how they behave. That's on them. And so that was the responsibility I should not have taken on. But for myself, so if I'm just looking in the mirror, who's responsible for me? Me. 100%.
I like to quote Malcolm.
100%. But I'm happy to have your support, buddy, and helping me because I am weak.
And in our case, it's mutual. So the vice versa is going to be there. Yeah. And I know that if you're a better you, then you help me to be a better me.
Sure.
Helping you be a better you. Malcolm Muggeridge, the most often quoted, least read man who wrote a lot of cool things. And some reporter asked him, 100 years ago, what is the main problem with the world?
Me.
Yes, that's what he said. I am.
Yeah.
And Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
It's so pithy to say, but it's so.
If you really, really believe that. Now, if it's a pithy statement.
Exactly.
But if you really think that.
Because as I said that, and I'm sitting there thinking about, man, that's hard to swallow. Because I think, I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that, and that thing's wrong, and I'm not doing that. But what does that help me? So if I care enough, go do something, be a part of it.
That's right.
Help. How can I help?
It's the highest convictions, the deepest grace. And, when we look at our culture and we call things good or bad or evil or right or wrong, and we forget. So the line between good and evil is not between parties and politics and races and things. It's right down the middle of your heart. And when you put a whole lot of humans together with hearts that are on the spectrum of, good, bad, right, wrong. We wind up with culture. We wind up with what we have, and there's lots of good, and there's lots of things that could be better, and there's lots of bad.
Well, it's just a great, I mean, again, if we boil this down to say, we would love to all wake up tomorrow morning and be rock solid in our own personal responsibility. We don't blame, we take control. We are accountable to ourselves. These are the things we need to do today to be as well and successful as possible. And we just do them. That'd be great. And we're trying. I mean, that's what all these books, we're feeding ourselves every day. And that's our responsibility too, to feed ourselves every day, to be becoming, as Randy would say, better, stronger, more devout in that vein. But no, and as you would also say, and we can so much help ourselves by other people. I mean, we so often from a faith-based standpoint, we want God's help. God help me, God speak to me, God direct me. And even biblically, how does he do that? Primarily 99% of the time through another person. He even sends this guy to do that, and he sends that gal to do that, or whatever. He does that. So how can we harness God in other people?
I would say through relationship.
Yeah.
It's
support, encouragement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the mysterious beauty, the luminous, the nuance, the essence of humanity. And it's the cracks that we all have, and what shines through. And on the medical side, there's a wonderful blend that's infinitely complex into the biochemistry of what is that, and the biochemistry of friendship. Like, what a great research topic and paper and whatever else. And then at the end of that, when the pharmaceutical company says, how do we bottle that? You and I are here today saying, go have a friend, go be a friend.
Go find a friend. Go find a friend. Go find support. Go be a friend.
Because then you're also, you gave your freedom away. Go be a friend.
That is true. Go be a friend. I think Zig has a quote like that. If you go out looking for friends, they're hard to find. If you go out to be a friend, you'll find them in multitudes, something like that. Yeah. There you go. Find a friend.